Hello everybody, it is Tom and welcome to another video.
I've been going to some dark places. I hate it when my mind races. I've got so many.
So hello, we are back. Another great episode of Agatha All Along. Today we're looking at episode 8, which is the second to last episode and essentially the first half of the finale. So yeah, that's really exciting. We're going to watch it, we're going to talk about it, we're going to discuss it and analyze it. 2 quick things before we get started. Number 1, we're trying the view with the bookshelf again. I've moved my desk to a spot that does not work with the flow of the room at all, so I will have to move it back after I'm done. But you can at least see the glory of the queer bookshelf again, so I hope you enjoy it. And if you don't, I guess let me know and I'll never do it again. So that's number 1. Number 2, if you are not familiar with my reaction style, once again, I do discussion and analysis based reactions. So we pause a lot, we talk a lot, we discuss a lot. So if you don't like hearing me talk about stuff, probably not the video for you. But yeah, so as I'm recording this, sadly, it is no longer Halloween, but we're going to pretend it is because Halloween is a state of mind and we're going to watch Agatha. And what's more Halloween-y than that? So I have on my purple hoodie in honor of Agatha and also Nick Nelson, if you know, you know. And I have my lovely birthday gift of a Halloween Snoopy mug, which this little guy has nearly stabbed me in the eye a bunch of times. So stay tuned to see if I will sustain an injury while you watch. So, all right, so we're going to watch episode 8 of Agatha All Along, which is entitled Follow Me, My Friend, to Glory at the End. It is taking all of my self-control to not sing that. I might do it anyway. No, we're going to be strong. We're not going to sing it. Follow me, my friend, to glory at the end. No, cut that out. Oh, this is such a chilling opening. So we are back in the cabin where they did Agatha's trial. Poor Alice, and Alice is lying here, and lots of papers scattered around. I would be interested to know what these papers are exactly. I'm sure it's something very meaningful, even though we're not actually able to see them. A caress by Death's fingers. This is a really cool thing that they do here, which really does a good job of conveying this disorienting feeling that she must be going through right now.
It's time to go. Where?
I really cannot say enough about how brilliantly Aubrey Plaza portrays death. Like, there are so many different facets to her. Like, sometimes she's playful, sometimes she's creepy, sometimes she's sexy, sometimes she's completely unhinged. Like, the way that she plays her is so varied and yet so fitting. Like, I have nothing but praise for her. And I do think it's good that they showed us this scene. I mean, obviously they could not have shown us this scene earlier because it would have ruined the surprise about Rio being death. But we get the finality now, like no, Alice actually is dead and it is horribly unfair, but that's, I don't want to say that's life, but like, that's how death is sometimes. It's ridiculously, stupidly unfair.
That's all the time I get? If I had a nickel.
This can't be the end. It has to be the beginning. I finally broke the curse. I can really do something with my life now.
You're a protection witch. You died protecting someone.
Yeah, I mean, it's true she did die protecting someone. Granted, the same someone is the one who killed her, but still. Alice definitely went out a hero. And it's very tragic that this happened. We know based on the timeline, based on the fact that her mother released the Witch's Road song in 1978, we know Alice is at least in like her mid to late 40s, but that's pretty young for a witch. So like she really was at the beginning of her journey as a witch. So it's very tragic. I mean, it would have been tragic no matter how old she was, but it's very tragic that her life was cut short like this.
You ready?
No.
Yeah, I can't imagine trying to come to terms with this, especially when she was so hopeful and like as she said, like her whole life was ahead of her and she finally could have done something with her life, as she said. Into the green. Follow me, my friend, to glory at the end. And that's interesting too, that like we start off with Alice following Rio to her end. No! Lilia! I don't want to say I love how upset Jen is, because obviously I don't want anyone to be this upset, but it says a lot about how much Jen and Lilia bonded over the last episode that she is this torn up about losing her.
What happened? Where is she?
Billy had walked on ahead, but as soon as he hears that, he comes racing back.
Inside! She stayed behind! Lilia?
And then the door closes, or the door seals up, and this scary green light on them. Oh, by the way, if you watch my episode 6 video, I apparently can't tell my left from my right because I said that Billy's heart earring was in his right ear. It is in fact in his left ear, so yep. I'm frankly shocked that no one was in the comments like, actually, it's on his left ear, so thank you for that. But yes, I was mistaken there. We have Agatha looking really like on edge, and it does seem like Agatha can sense when Rio is near based on how we see her react a few different times throughout the series. So it seems like she can sense Rio, and I think this is a case of that where like she's looking around, she looks very off balance and scared. And there's Rio. What an entrance. What an outfit. And the crown.
Your coven is shrinking. First Alice, now Lilia. It's nice she took the Salem 7 with her.
Now, apparently the showrunner has confirmed that the Salem 7 are gone, but I maintain that we only saw 5 of them die and 2 of them escaped. They might just not be relevant. Since the coven was a feral hive mind, it could just be that they can't really operate when they've lost so many of them.
The bodies are really piling up. Yeah, thought there'd be a trick in there somewhere. And there was. You were distracting me from him.
The implication here is that Agatha is somehow orchestrating the deaths of the witches in order to distract Rio, but I think it's more just that she's been distracting Rio in a multitude of ways, because really Alice is the only one who she actually killed.
He is an abomination.
Oof. Having the word, like, I understand where death is coming from here, because obviously Billy was quote unquote meant to have died and now has a second life, but using the word abomination specifically to talk about a queer kid whose identity has trans vibes is really interesting and kind of awful. Not in like a bad writing kind of way, but just in an, oh God, that word sort of way.
He is disrupting the sacred balance.
And like the whole idea of queerness and transness being unnatural or against the natural order and stuff like that. Like, I don't think that that's what they had in mind when they used that word, but oh boy, that hit some notes for me.
And I know how you feel about him.
Please, I've known that kid for 2 minutes.
I watch you, Agatha, just as closely as you watch everyone else.
And Rio saying, I know how you feel about him, and Agatha immediately denying it. Like, it's very obvious that throughout this whole thing, and we'll talk about this more in the next episode, but it's clear, like, even knowing that Billy wasn't her son, it seems like he really reminds her of her son. Looking back on episode 2, when it's just the two of them, like, going around town and looking for the witches and having their banter back and forth, it was very reminiscent for me of Agatha and Nikki going around and, you know, collecting witches in a different way. So, like, in terms of Billy's optimism and hopefulness and naivete before we see the darker sides of him, I can really understand why Agatha would see some of her kid in him.
This walk with another woman's son on a road that doesn't...
Stop!
A road that doesn't even exist, I assume is what she was about to say there.
No one in history has had special treatment like you.
You call what you did special treatment.
Later, we will talk more about the relationship between Agatha and Rio, but I understand why Agatha feels like this is something she cannot forgive. But Rio did nothing wrong. Rio does not kill people. Rio does not cause people to die. Like, as she said in episode 1, when she and Agatha are fighting, Agatha literally says, "You can't kill me, it's not allowed." And we get the sense throughout that, like, Rio cannot actually kill people. She can hurt people, but she can't actually kill them because that's not her job. Her job is to collect the bodies after they're already dead and lead the souls off to wherever they're supposed to go. The fact that Agatha's son was going to die had nothing to do with Rio. Her only job was to escort him away. By doing what she did, by giving Agatha more time with him, she did give her special treatment, but that also made it even more heartbreaking for Agatha.
Why do you let them believe those things about you? Huh? About Nikki?
Because the truth is too awful.
She would prefer that people see her as a heartless witch who traded her own child for the Darkhold rather than just a mother who lost her son. Jen and Billy are just having a moment.
Well, Leah wanted to stay behind. She chose it. You're sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. She did it for us.
I wonder how different this would have been if Lilia had not done that and the Salem 7 were still pursuing them.
Rio.
She told us who she was in the very beginning. Greencraft is about the cycle of all living things, growth and decay in constant flow.
Yeah, and again, this is going back to the idea that Rio as Death is not evil. I mean, she's been through some shit, man, and like I feel like her relationship with Agatha has really messed both of them up. But it is just about the cycle of living things, and like she is impartial. She's not killing anyone. She's not destroying anything. She's just making sure that cycle continues.
The son of the Scarlet Witch stole a second life. I can't let him do the same for his twin. I have to take him.
And take him. You can't. If Billy is killed, he'll reincarnate again and then you'll lose him.
That's very interesting in terms of Billy, that like he could reincarnate at any time, which concerns me from a wanting them to keep Joe in the role sort of situation. But hopefully Marvel will recognize that he's amazing and they need to keep him in this role for as long as possible.
You need him to turn himself in.
YouTubers trying not to get their videos demonetized phrasing.
I can arrange that. I can get him to the finish line and deliver him to you.
So I think with this, Agatha is really covering her bases. Because obviously, if Agatha had the choice, she would want Billy and herself to both be alive and be fine. But this way, by making this deal with Rio, if things go south with Billy, she's covered. If they don't, she's covered. I feel like this is just something that she's doing to cover all her bases and maybe even prove to both herself and Rio that she doesn't care about Billy, even though she clearly does. I think Agatha would really prefer it if she did not care so much about Billy, but that is not the case. She definitely does care about him, and Rio knows it, which I think is why Rio is so skeptical during this whole exchange.
In exchange for...
You let me go.
You will eventually die.
I want you to stop making my life hell. And when I die, I don't want to see your face.
It definitely seems like this hurts Rio. Their whole relationship is so tragic because it's clear that they deeply, deeply loved each other and still do love each other, but it's just gotten so toxic. Like, Agatha has not been able to forgive Rio for taking Nicholas, even though it had nothing to do with her. Essentially, she was just doing her job. Agatha is kind of defined by the betrayals or perceived betrayals that she has suffered during her life, and it's turned her into the person that she is. And it's made her hate Rio, but that love is still there. And even though it's been like poisoned by this hatred and resentment that she also has. And Rio clearly still loves Agatha, even though she also has this hatred for her and wanting to literally kill her. So I would love to get more about, like, if we could have had just one more episode to show us the evolution of their relationship from the beginning up until where we meet them here. I would have loved to see exactly how that evolved, because like, it's clear that these are two people who love each other but should not be together, cannot be together. But it definitely does seem like it hurts Rio here that Agatha is like, I don't want to see your face. I don't want to see you ever again. So very complex relationship here. But I think even at this point, Rio is only half believing that Agatha will actually hand Billy over anyway, so she agrees.
Okay.
This moment is almost like Rio is calling Agatha's bluff, and then Agatha is like, oh shit, she called my bluff. But is it a bluff? I don't think either of them are sure. And then this is great. Like, just as I was thinking, like, ooh, maybe they could have done a better job making that backdrop not look like a backdrop, we learn it's supposed to look like that because Rio literally cuts her way through it. That's so great, and such a good foreshadowing of what we learn later about the road.
I mean, how did they even meet?
That's my question too, man. I need the backstory.
Over corpses, I imagine.
We haven't really gotten to see much of Billy and Jen together, so I like that they had this little scene where, like, they definitely don't bond as much as Billy and Alice and Billy and Lilia did, but it's clear that they have a mutual respect for each other.
More proof that Agatha has feelings.
That was your takeaway.
Yeah, and Jen is right. Like, that was your takeaway. But Billy, as someone who can read people's minds, really understands a lot more about people than I think a lot of people do. Like, he can look at Agatha, even if he can't read her mind the majority of the time, he can still look at her and see all these complexities and all these, like, you know, that she's not just black and white. Like, she's capable of love. She's capable of really caring about people and doing good things, even though she is this deeply flawed, kind of villainous person. I think that really makes sense with his abilities as a mind reader because he knows the complexities that humans are capable of.
I do not understand your loyalty to her.
It's not loyalty, it's analysis. I'm fully aware that Agatha Harkness can never be anything but a covenless witch.
Ouch.
And it's really a shame that Agatha only hears the last thing that he says. He's actually sticking up for her. Like, I mean, he says it's analysis rather than loyalty, and it is. Like, he's just analyzing her as a person. He understands that even though she is capable of love and capable of doing these things, she is still at her heart Agatha Harkness. Hearing him say that must just make her feel even more inclined to betray him.
One trial left until the big score.
Earth magic with no green witch.
There's plenty of overlap between Earth and potions, right? Jenny Kale?
Agatha is very interesting. When she's in an emotionally vulnerable place, she will either go straight up villain, or she'll go into this, like, I don't care, boisterous witch who's, like, jabbing at other people and just being this big personality. Both of them are defense mechanisms. Both of them are intended to take the emotional load off of herself and, like, agitate the people around her to distract herself perhaps from how she's feeling. Here she's very clearly trying to get Jen riled up.
Your last name is a vegetable. Worst kind. It's like swallowing a doily.
Hey now. I'm not here for the kale disrespect. If you cook it properly, it tastes very nice.
I'm surprised you survived this long, Kale. My money was on Lilia.
Aw, Jen.
What fresh horrors await us? It's the big finish after all. Just get ready for spectacle. Get ready for...
We're back where we started. The witch's road is a circle.
The fact that the road is a circle is fascinating. One thing that's really interesting in terms of Agatha is the fact that, like, going through the road, all of the characters change, but Agatha is here still doing her same bullshit. So, like, the fact that it's a circle makes sense a lot for her as the one character who has not shown any outward change, although we know there is some inward change going on there. Oh, it's so sad seeing all the shoes that will never be claimed.
That's it!
Maybe we passed the trial.
I love that she turns to Billy at this moment. Like, there are so many signs throughout, obviously, that Billy made the road and that Agatha knows it. What she said before about Maximoff's being dramatic, and she's not wrong. It sounds like she was expecting, like, a huge final trial that was just, you know, bang, crash, the lightning flashed. But the fact that they've just come full circle back to their shoes, she immediately turns straight to Billy and is like, that's it? Even though he doesn't even know that he's the one who did this yet.
Then how exactly do we get off?
You don't often see Agatha this out of control of herself and this out of control of her emotions, but, like, she is pissed. She is losing it.
Maybe if you don't know, then keep quiet!
And the fact that she yells at him like this, I can see why she would be frustrated with him in particular, knowing what she knows, but yeah. Oh, and Jen's looking at the shoes of their fallen comrades. It's really interesting to see how much this journey has changed Jen.
We go again. It'll work the second time.
And Agatha's like, we'll just do it again. We'll just have another go.
What are you gonna do? Have them bronzed?
We took them off out of respect for the road. Screw the road!
Casting off his respect for the road is what enables them to go into the final trial, to proceed. I would be really interested to hear people's thoughts about this because I don't have any particular theories about why this is the way. No socks and boots. Those have got to be some sweaty feet. I mean, none of them were wearing socks.
Hello?
I love that Billy literally wakes up in a body bag and he's not panicked. He's just like, hello?
What in the...
Ugh. Not the greatest fashion that they have encountered. Billy's immediately ready to go help Jen.
Don't steal her struggle.
Don't steal her struggle. It is true that sometimes people need to struggle in order to learn something, but in this case, I think you could have probably unzipped her and it would have been fine. But hey, girl.
Where are we? My basement, give or take.
I also wonder what piece of pop culture or what this room is referencing specifically from Billy's knowledge base.
These are grow lights. Are we supposed to grow something here?
In a place with no soil or water? Certainly has the irritating sting of a witch's road trial.
Again, throwing dark looks at Billy as she says this. Yeah, so the spell book is all crossed out, which seems to suggest, like, Billy, you're on your own. This is Final Jeopardy. You have to figure this out without the help of your spell book.
Now we have our countdown.
I think that's very cool, the fact that the timer in this case is the lights slowly extinguishing, which is freaking terrifying. Like, the idea of there being a finite end to the source of light scares the crap out of me, so...
You seem relaxed. Usually at this point, you're either complaining loudly or freaking out loudly.
So once again, Agatha is feeling off balance and uncertain, so she tries to get Jen riled up.
I'm thinking.
Oh, about what?
How to save your ass.
Pardon?
Pardon? Very, very Moira Rose.
I couldn't save Lilia. I didn't even try to save Alice. I'll be damned if I let you two idiots die.
This moment, more than any other, really shows how much Jen has changed and grown throughout the course of the whole journey, but especially the last episode and bonding with Lilia.
How are you gonna do that without any magic?
She saved my life. She saved you from poisoning. Maybe you don't need it.
Well, if that's true, that means I've wasted the last century of my life. The doctor in Boston didn't take anything from me. I gave it up.
See, now what troubles me here... So, okay, let's have a chat. Let's have a chat, folks. So, one of the issues with a show like this, or like WandaVision, being released every week over a period of time instead of all at once, is that we have time to theorize. And sometimes our theories are going to end up being, I don't want to say better, but maybe better for us than what actually happened. So the idea that Jen bound herself because of the trauma that she endured with this guy in Boston, to me, is more satisfying because it means that Jen has to find the power within herself to force that trauma to release its hold on her. So I would have liked that better, especially because this particular ending relies on Agatha realizing she is the one who put the binding spell on Jen indirectly. So I think it's a good scene here. I really like the scene, and like it's so powerful when Jen is, you know, saying you hold nothing and just repeating over and over again that Agatha holds no power over her. But Agatha is not, I mean, Agatha's a villain, but Agatha is not Jen's villain. Jen's villain is the man who did this to her, the men in power who could not deal with the idea of a powerful woman, or even just a woman doing something to help other women. So I think it would have been more satisfying in a narrative way if she had had to face off against that trauma and him rather than Agatha specifically. And I also feel like this is a little bit rushed in terms of how they deal with Jen. I completely get it. They were on a certain timeline. They decided to give more time to other things. You have to make that choice when you're making a series. So if we had had unlimited time, I would much have preferred to see us delve more into that rather than just this kind of like, oh, the person who bound you just happens to be in the room with you and you can unbind right here and now. So yeah, from a writing perspective, I would have done it differently. I don't think it's bad that they did it this way. Just for me, it would have been a little more satisfying done in a slightly different way.
Are you the one who bound me? Kept me like this for 100 years?
I didn't know it was you! I did the odd spell for banknotes.
I don't know, the patriarchy really shelled out to shush a lady. It was bind or burn!
So obviously it's really shitty that Agatha was, giving spells to bind other witches to awful people and awful men specifically, but this does fit in with her general distrust and hatred of other witches based on her original trauma of her mother and her coven betraying her. But yeah, it's a very shitty thing for her to do, obviously. She clearly did not know that it was Jen specifically, but she still did that.
100 years!
This is so awkward.
Ow! Oh, God! Jen, that is my hair!
Honestly, that's impressive that she managed to rip out that much hair like that quickly, just in one tug.
The unbinding ritual.
I deny your power over me. You hold nothing.
Yeah.
You hold nothing.
And this is really a powerful scene for Jen specifically, especially Jen as a black witch. But like, again, I think it would have been more powerful if it was being done against the actual aggressor rather than just the person providing the weapon.
You hold nothing. You hold nothing. You hold nothing.
I'm so happy for Jen that she was able to get her powers back. Not only get her powers back, but kind of get herself back through this journey. Even before she got her magic back, she had kind of found a new, more meaningful version of herself. Oh, and the way she just sobs. Oh, Jen. Being powerless for so long and then suddenly finding your power, like that's, and not just finding it, but taking it back yourself. Like that is such a meaningful thing. And it is portrayed really beautifully here. Oh, and Billy looks so happy for her.
What happened? Where did she go? She was just there.
The road gave her what she was missing, and now she's gone.
It's so interesting that like there are two ways to get out of this room. One of them is to do the trial, which is to grow something. And the other one is to get what you were missing, which is really interesting because it's not the road giving you what you were missing. It's you giving it to yourself. Maybe that's what the shoes are about. It's about agency, doing for yourself what you wanted the road to do. And that's been the case through the whole thing. Alice broke the curse herself. Lilia found community and gained, if not control, then acceptance of her powers herself. Jen unbound herself. So it might just be about taking that personal agency, realizing that no magical road can give you what you're missing. You have to get it yourself.
I came here for power. You have power. Juice me up.
So you get what you're missing and I'm left here to rot? Or worse, take all my power.
I would.
Liar!
Sit down.
Why?
We're gonna find your brother.
This is a really interesting moment from an Agatha character perspective, because she does try to get Billy to give her power. And whether she would have taken it all or not, we do not know. I want to believe she would not have, because she doesn't later, but who knows? But the fact of the matter is, like, she knows at this point that the only way to get out of this room, because she doesn't know about the dandelion seed in her brooch, so she doesn't know that there's a way for them to get out by passing the trial. As far as she knows, the only way to get out is to get what you're missing. So the only way for her to leave this trial is to get her power back. The only way for Billy to leave is to find his brother. That's it. So when he will not give her power, she helps him accomplish what he set out to do, even knowing it will make him disappear and leave her alone with seemingly no way of escaping from this trial. So in a way, she sacrificed herself for him at this moment. Now, when she's given a chance later to potentially betray him, she does. But in this moment, at least, she does not. She makes that choice, like, either we could both stay here and die, or I can help you find your brother, and you at least can live. and she takes that choice. Now, it might have been, again, a calculated risk that once Billy got what he was looking for, he would be able to get her out somehow, or that the road would disappear altogether and transport her back to Westview or something. But so I do think it was a calculated risk, but nonetheless, it is an act that she knows could leave her alone in this room forever.
Tommy isn't waiting out there, not in a body, anyway.
It seems like the implication of this whole thing, of what Rio said earlier and what Agatha says now and what we see when they go into it, is that Billy took Tommy's soul with him into William's body, but it's not like a consciousness. It's not like they've both had control over Billy's body. Tommy's soul has been buried deep, deep down. And that also would explain why Wanda was not able to find either of them, because the sigil was protecting the body of William. And if they were both in there, they would both be protected.
I think I can bring Tommy back.
And even knowing that this could be a trap, he can't pass up the possibility that this could genuinely help him get his brother back.
Your last moments with Tommy.
I don't remember anything.
You do.
The frustration in his voice when he says he doesn't remember anything.
Your mother and I, very proud of you both.
Thanks for choosing me.
And I can't imagine how this must feel to Billy, having not remembered anything about his parents and suddenly hearing their voices, and such loving voices, and maybe remembering how he felt in that moment and how much he did love them.
I realize I'm breathing at the same time as Tommy.
Now, I have anxiety and a tendency towards panic attacks, so hearing people breathing audibly gets to me. But it's very cool the way that they do this, and like the breathing and syncing their breathing and like being so in sync with someone. So it's very nicely done. It just triggers me personally.
It's nice. A feeling when your body knows it's safe.
And it's so terrible that like right before, like that Billy felt so safe seconds before he was torn away from everything he'd ever known.
The sound of him. It stops because everything else does.
It's your mother folding her world. That's okay.
And Agatha does such a good job of bringing him through this.
We have said goodbye before, so it stands to reason.
We'll say hello again.
And the fact that as a mind reader, he overheard his parents and that heartbreaking exchange. We've said goodbye before, so it stands to reason we'll say hello again, which just gutted me when I watched WandaVision, as I'm sure it did many of you.
Even if you can't hear him, you don't have to open your eyes to know how close he is.
I do think it makes sense that Billy would pull his twin along with him, even not knowing what he's doing, not understanding, like it's just pure instinct that he's grabbing for the first available vessel and dragging his brother along with him.
You breathe for him. You breathe for everything he is.
Oh, you breathe for yourself, you breathe for him, you breathe for everything he is such a good line.
You hold it all inside of you, but it can't stay there. Keep your eyes closed, no matter what.
I'm not sure exactly what she's doing to him here, but it's very effective.
You can't keep him. So where does he go?
I don't know!
Find him a place.
I can't find a place.
The acting in this scene from Joe specifically, obviously Catherine as well, but Joe specifically is so well done.
120 bodies empty out every minute. Find one.
And this does really show me how good Agatha could be as his mentor. The way that she's able to, like, she's not gentle with what she's doing, but she's doing it in a way that works.
Underwater! There's a boy!
Oh, and this is so heartbreaking. Like, this poor kid.
They tricked him! He's gonna drown! It's a bad place!
Oh, it usually is.
The people, the family, there's no one to love him! He's got no one!
The fact that this boy who has no one is about to drown from these bullies is just so terrible.
Am I killing this boy so my brother can live?
Like, I get shivers watching this scene. Like, am I killing this boy so my brother can live? This plaintive cry from him. He doesn't want to hurt anyone. Again, going back to him saying in a few episodes ago, I'm not that nice. Like, he genuinely is a good person, and he does not want other people to die because of him. And then we see the boy who had drowned come up out of the water, which one thing I was wondering about this is that, like, the implication is not only that Billy is able to put a soul into a body that's been recently deceased, but the fact that he can apparently heal the body enough for it to be sustained. Because, like, think about it, this boy's lungs are filled with water, and that would not change just from putting another soul in there. So he has to essentially, like, clear out this boy's lungs. Same thing with William. Like, his body was damaged enough that his heart stopped and he died. But somehow, when Billy jumped into him, he was okay enough for life to continue. So, you know, I think there must be some element of healing or like magic, something going on here other than just inserting a soul into a vacated body. But yeah, and then Billy disappears and it rips a crack in the floor and Agatha is alone.
No, Billy. Sometimes boys die.
And we see the most real Agatha, obviously, when she's all by herself, when she's alone. And this moment, when we just have Agatha sitting alone in what seems like a hopeless situation, in the near darkness, having just helped Billy to accomplish what he set out to do, helping Billy to bring Tommy back to life, so to speak. And this delivering this line, "No, Billy, sometimes boys die," with what she's been through, and just, oh, it's so, And then the lights continue flickering. And Agatha knows that she might have just, you know, sent away her only chance at getting out of here. And so what does she do? She opens up the locket because she wants to look at Nikki's hair and feel that connection to him again, maybe for the last time. But there is a dandelion seed in here. I am curious about when the seed found its way into the brooch. Is it something that Billy managed to subconsciously do to help Agatha get out of this after she, you know, helped him save Tommy? I don't know, because it didn't look like it was there before and then suddenly it was. But regardless, it is a way for her to get out.
Out of death, life.
Yeah, and also the fact, like, his leaving gave her what she needed. That's what made the crack in the floor that has dirt in it, earth that she can actually reach. And if he did manifest the seed as well, then he gave her the tools that she needed to get out.
No, I need more time. I need more time.
And it's clear, like, I think she's talking directly to Billy here, like being, no, like, Billy, I need more time here. We see this flower, well, I mean, technically it's a weed, but I like dandelions. But we have this dandelion, it grows so quickly and, like, goes into its, not really death form, but, like, the form where it's going to spread seeds. So, like, its life passes what seems like too quickly, which, you know, definitely fits with Agatha's son. But yeah, the fact that she found it in the locket with her dead son's hair, out of death life. Now, this seems like a bit much. I'm not sure why we had to dump all of the dirt on her and nearly bury her in it. I guess it wasn't quite dangerous enough.
I played by your rules and I passed the last trial and they all the road!
Yeah, I played by your rules and I passed the last trial. Again, I'm pretty sure speaking directly to Billy. And it works. The door opens. And it genuinely was her basement because she's coming out into her backyard, and very Wizard of Oz, very like Dorothy and the tornado. But it's not a tornado, it's your ex.
Congratulations, my love!
Aubrey Plaza is so good at the cackle, like at the even like the screaming witch cackle. She's so good at it.
I'm sorry I didn't have a ribbon for you to run through.
Where is it?
I think Agatha also thought that, like, by completing the road, she would automatically get her powers back. At least she was hoping.
I want my prize!
The delivery of this line, like, that would have wrecked my throat. So well done, Catherine Hahn. But this so perfectly conveys Agatha's fury, all that she's been through, and just like frustration, and very, very, very good.
So do I.
Yeah, and since the road is done, their truce is technically also done. One thing about Rio and / Death is that she definitely honors her promises. She promises that they will have a truce while they're on the road. She honors that. She promises Agatha that Agatha won't see her face after she dies. She honors that, so.
I I got you the kid out as agreed!
He was supposed to surrender himself.
And Agatha, even knowing that she did not follow through on her end of the bargain, is still trying to like get Rio to give her what she wants.
That means you're coming with me. I'm thinking death by 1,000 cuts!
As previously discussed, it seemed like Rio, and based on what Rio herself has said, she can't kill people, but she can hurt them, and she definitely hurts Agatha here. The residents of Westview, you guys gotta move. Like, get out of Westview.
Is it happening again?
I don't know.
They all just seem so tired. Like, they're not even scared. They're just tired.
Fireface. Spelle. Hope Malo.
This is very cool because we see Agatha making use of the things that she learned from her coven members. So she tries to do the circle that Alice did to ward off evil. And we see her trying to do the healing that Jen did with water and moonlight. And of course, we also see her taking Lilia's advice regarding ducking at the appropriate time. It's interesting that all of the coven members were changed by the experience of being on the road and being with each other. But Agatha was too, even though she doesn't really want to believe it.
Spell this evil. You're calling me evil? I am the natural order of all things, baby.
One thing that didn't occur to me until right now as I'm watching back through this and editing the video is that it's really interesting that Agatha both loves and hates death, because for pretty much her entire life, like, she has been fighting against the concept of death. She was fighting against Nikki dying, and then for the rest of her life, she's been fighting against herself dying, even extending her life in kind of villainous ways by taking the power of other witches to do so. So, and of course, you know, getting the Darkhold. I still have a lot of questions about how Agatha acquired the Darkhold and what she was hoping to accomplish. But regardless, it's clear that Agatha is someone who has an obsession with death, both, you know, the concept and the person, which is very interesting.
You are a coward!
And she calls you a coward.
Hit the deck!
I think it's kind of funny that, you know, there's the expression, everything but the kitchen sink. And Rio has literally thrown the kitchen sink at her.
Why don't you want me?
This question, why don't you want me, is so, I've seen some folks online who are understandably upset about the fact that many women-loving women relationships end in the death of one of the characters in mainstream media. And I think that that is a totally fair thing to be upset about. And I think we need way less of that and way more happy endings for women-loving women. But in this case, I feel like they were not going to have a happy ending. Like, there's no way that these two characters can be together. Their relationship is just, it has reached a point of toxicity where there's no coming back from that. And while I would have loved for there to be some way for them to reconcile and for it to be okay, it just is not going to happen with these two characters. Like, they are beyond the point of no return now. They have hurt each other so often and so deeply over such a long period of time that there's no way back from that. Oh God, should we make some sort of meaningful statement about Achilles' heels? We won't, but it's there. Yeah, and here Agatha tries to heal herself using Jen's spell. This is so brutal. She's like, oh, what's that about? Yes! I watched this episode the night it aired, and when Billy appeared in this outfit, I yelled, "Fuck yeah!" so loudly. This is such a great entrance. The fact that he is able to fully manifest his powers and, similar to his mother, cause like this awesome outfit to appear is also very cool, because, you know, he does have access to chaos magic. He can make things appear from nothing, real things. And it's also really interesting. I was reading an interview with Joe, and I had not noticed, but apparently the color of Billy's sweatshirt slowly changes to become the color of his hood in the outfit. And you can see it later on when he goes home to his parents that his sweatshirt is now this color. So that's just a really cool detail. And yeah, this is badass. Joe looks amazing. This costume is so accurate to the comics, but just in general looks really cool.
You look good.
You don't. Don't take it all.
And this is such an interesting choice by Billy. And again, one of the reasons why I think he is just at heart a good person. He wants to believe the best in people. He wants to believe the best in Agatha. Even though he's been so distrustful of her ever since Alice died, the fact that here he is willing to literally put his life in her hands and trust that she will not take all his power, it is a risk. It is a calculated risk, but a risk.
Feels so good.
Talking again about whether or not Agatha can control this, like, sucking the power out of people thing. So I still believe that she did not intend to kill Alice. Number one, Agatha has zero experience with stopping this process. Every other time she's done it, she has sucked the magic completely out of the person in question, has had no interest in stopping it. Number two, with Alice, she had just been possessed by her mother, so she was not in her right mind. Instinct took over. I think if she had realized what she was doing, she would have stopped it, but she didn't. But in this situation, number one, Billy has a lot more power than Alice did. Like, I feel like Agatha sucks power out of Billy probably longer than she did out of Alice. And Billy is only just starting to look kind of like, you know, it's taxing him, like it's this, okay, we're reaching a danger point here, when she breaks it off, when she cuts off the flow and like sends some power back to him as well. Also, of course, like she has a soft spot for Billy. She went into this with the intention of not taking all his powers. And again, the connection between Billy and Nikki makes it that she is definitely, like, she doesn't want to kill him. He's looking pretty rough, but he does manage to snap back.
So I'll let you decide. One of you stays with me, the other walks free.
Poor Billy, always flying through glass. At least he didn't get, like, stabbed with it this time. I'm sure the super suit helped. The fact that Agatha and Rio are still like toxically flirting with power looks good on you, honey, everything looks good on me. And I think they are both having fun. Like, I think they genuinely enjoy this rather twisted side of their relationship. I think they enjoy fighting each other when they're equals. Billy has a lot of power. Like, this is after he gave Agatha a significant portion of his power, and he can still do all this.
This is futile. We can't fight death. It should be me.
I do wonder how much of this is manipulation and how much is Agatha being genuine with Billy. I want to believe that it is genuine and that it's not until he offers himself up that she's like, well, I might as well roll with this. Though I really don't know why he would offer himself up to save her anyway, like, aside again from just the fact that he's a good person. But like, she is a mass murderer who has lived for a very, very long time. So like, I think it makes more sense from a fairness perspective for him to be the one who survives. But again, he's a good person who's willing to give up his own life for someone else.
You're not bad.
Neither are you.
You're the only one who thinks so.
When she says you're the only one who thinks so to Billy here, she's clearly including her own son, Nicholas, which I don't think that's the case. I think he does see the good in her, and also herself. Like, she thinks of herself as a bad person. She's forced herself to be okay with that for the most part, but there is a part of her that recognizes that and is not okay with it.
I'll go with you. That's my choice. Take me.
Take him! What? As promised.
Yeah, so when she hears him say that, I do think that that's when she makes the decision to be like, well, I mean, it's done. He did it. I might as well go with this.
It's over.
Why don't you plant a few azaleas on your way out?
But I thought you were...
Like, what was he expecting out of this? Was he expecting her to be like, no, don't do it. Don't do it, Billy. Take me instead. Was it like the case when you're like at a restaurant with your friends and they have a lot of money and you don't have much at all, but you're still like, I can totally get this. I'll get this. Don't you worry about it, because you know that they're going to say, no, I'll get this. And then you can be like, oh, well, okay, thank you. Did he think that that's what she was going to do here? No, I do think that he was being genuine with like offering himself up, but the fact that she turned so quickly is jarring for sure for him. And Rio's laughing and shaking her head like she doesn't buy it.
What can I say? I'm a covenless witch.
She throws this back in his face. Like, he said this one kind of mean thing to her once about how she's a covenless witch, and now she's using it to justify, you know, him dying. And she puts on the villain guys again, starts laughing.
Agatha. I know you can hear me.
Now, one very interesting thing that I also read in the interview with Joe Locke is that initially, when they did this scene, they did not have Billy speaking to Agatha's mind, like speaking directly into her mind. She made the decision completely on her own. Like, she started walking away and then was like, oh shit, I can't do this after all. And then made the decision to come back and sacrifice herself. So I almost like that better. But I do think that having him, first of all, it's really cool that we get to see that he does have enough power to speak directly into her mind, despite the fact that he hasn't been able to read her mind before this. But like, I like the idea that it's her choice, that she has been changed enough by her experience that she doesn't need him to guilt her. She doesn't need him to remind her of her son that she couldn't save to propel her into the decision of sacrificing herself for him. I like that it was initially her decision. But from a screen point of view, from a conveying what's going on to the audience kind of way, I think this does make it clearer what's going on and maybe works for that reason. But I kind of would have liked it better from a satisfying character arc point of view if she had made the decision herself. So, I mean, I think that there's a way they could have done that, but you know, it's a minor thing and it's not a huge complaint because I do like the way that they did this.
Is this how Nikki died?
And just watching this with the understanding that Catherine Hahn was playing this scene as Agatha deciding this on her own. So it's interesting to watch the play of emotions. And I think it does make it clearer for the audience that her mind is going to her son in this moment, and the fact that she could not save him, but she can save Billy, who reminds her of her son. Yeah, and her hand goes to where the brooch usually is. And then we have her literally embrace death. So I'm glad we got our kiss finally. It does suck that this is like a dying kiss. And again, justice for all the dead women-loving women out there in popular TV and movies. But this particular relationship, I don't think it was going anywhere good. And Agatha sacrificing herself for Billy does show a lot of growth from her and is a satisfying arc narratively. And you can see that Rio is really grieved about this, despite the fact that she's been trying to make this happen for a really long time. But she genuinely does love Agatha, even knowing that it wouldn't work for them to be together. Yeah, and this is really cool. And like the fact that Agatha was asking Rio to plant some flowers in her yard, and then Rio literally transforms her body into life, into growing things, life from death again. And then the sun comes out. And so we have Billy and Rio both grieving the loss of Agatha here and both kind of shocked that it actually happened. Like, I think Agatha was so larger than life that it could be easy to just believe that she would never die. And I think even Rio, actively trying to convince herself and Agatha that she wanted Agatha dead, still is grieving and still maybe didn't believe that this would actually happen. Like, I think she probably foresaw, like, just for the rest of eternity, the two of them battling back and forth and continuing this and maybe eventually reconciling. Like, it could be that she was always waiting for Agatha to reach the point where she could forgive her, but she just never could. And then there's the brooch. And his nails have gone kind of metallic blue, which is really cool. It might just have been the light there, but still. And Rio's face too was practical effects, which is really freaking cool. Like, I'm sure they smoothed it out a little bit with CGI, but like there are pictures you can see of like her wearing the thing over her face to make it look like that.
You may go.
And then Billy's free to go because Agatha sacrificed herself for him and the life that was given up was hers. It's also interesting that wearing this black veil, Rio really looks like the grieving widow, which essentially is what she is. And here we have a really clear parallel to WandaVision, the end where Wanda, after everything, is like walking out of Westview and like flips up her hood and walks past all the people. They're like, these people must so distrust superheroes at this point. And off he goes, driving off in his Subaru. They need to make this into a Subaru commercial. Like, is it objectively a little bit funny that he's wearing his super suit and has the ability to like fly and do crazy stuff, and he hops into his parents' SUV and drives home? Yes, but he's got to get that car back to his parents somehow. So, you know, what do you want? What do you want from this boy? There's also some really cool stuff about Billy's suit. Like, the costume designer used bits from both Wanda's and Vision's costumes in it, which is really cool. Yeah, and you can see now that his sweatshirt has totally changed color to match his Wiccan hood. And it's now 8 a.m.
Oh my god!
And he's all beaten up and dirty.
Gone in 24 hours. What happened?
So I need to know what he told his parents. He goes to Agatha's house in the very next episode. Like, he drives over there. How is this boy not grounded? What did he tell them that they not only like were like, oh, okay, that makes sense, but that they did not immediately ground him? Like, that's what I want to know. I mean, the Kaplans are very nice and understanding, but like, this is another level. I'm sure that shower felt really good after being on the road for all that time. And he wasn't even one of the ones who ended up in the mud. And it's cool that they go back to the idea of him looking at himself in the mirror. And like, presumably after 3 years, he's no longer feeling so weird about the fact that this is him, this is who he is. But it's interesting to have him just examining himself in the mirror. And then we get back to his room, and this is where the big reveal comes about. Buffy the musical poster, very nice. There's a lot more stuff, obviously, than there was before, and a lot more of like a darker influence and an older influence, but he has kept a lot of Williams things, including the Wizard of Oz figurines in the background there.
Take me to the Witch's Road. The Witch's Road doesn't exist.
My only issue with this plot twist, because I think it is a good twist, and I think it does make sense, like they did a good job of putting little things throughout, and like I did definitely notice that all of the things that we found on the road were represented somewhere in Billy's room. But one thing that is a little bit strange to me is the fact that he doesn't recognize these things while they're on the road. It's not until he comes back to his room after everything that he realizes that the stuff in his room is represented there. He might have been avoiding thinking about that just to protect himself from the reality. There is the fact that when you look at the stuff in your room every single day, you become kind of blind to what's actually in it.
It's exactly how I pictured it.
It suits you.
Yeah, and he did say, like, it's how I pictured it, and, like, the road does fit to what he hears and he knows about it. Like, what he imagined, and then, you know, Lilia talks about, like, what the trials are about. He hears the witches say that the Green Witch is very important, so, like, he hears all these things, and they subconsciously fill out. Now, I think the difference between him and Wanda is that Wanda was actively controlling people as well as manifesting the surroundings. For Billy, he subconsciously created the road and the trials. I feel like it was kind of left on autopilot. Like, it's kind of like he programmed a game and then played the game. Well, he programmed a game, forgot he programmed the game, and then played the game.
Didn't think you had it in you.
You didn't think you would win them.
But yeah, I didn't think you had it in you. That was one line that I still was not sure of what it meant. Now we know what it meant, that she was literally talking to Billy, being, I didn't think you had it in you to actually let someone die. But again, I think that he just set up the rules of the road and then followed those rules. The other thing that I had a question about was the fact that he didn't even know what Alewife's Revenge, the poison that was used in episode 3, was. Because he was like, oh, how do you spell alewife? Like, it seemed like he'd never heard of that before. So unless it was something that he saw in passing and then forgot about, but it was still buried in his subconscious, I don't know. Love the Trans Lives Matter flag. Apparently Joe was the one who suggested having that in there, so well done, Joe. Oh, and there's even a tarot card on the wall. Is it the sun? Because that was what was missing for him, according to Lilia. So upon further research, the card on his wall is actually the moon. The moon is a card of illusion and deception, and therefore often suggests a time when something is not as it appears to be. Perhaps a misunderstanding on your part or a truth you cannot admit to yourself. Very fitting.
And the ability to turn all of your goals into reality.
Even with the sigil in the way, you and your mother have the same tale.
Wait.
Gosh, you really are a Maximoff.
So it does seem like a lot of the things that ended up in the road were things that he didn't actively pay attention to in his room, like things that belonged to William or things that were like forgotten or in corners or stuff like this.
None of this would be nearly as dramatic.
And I love the redoing of this line to make it clear that she was talking about, when she said none of this would be nearly as dramatic, she meant the road, all the events that they've been through.
You're so much like your mother.
It was me.
The fact that it says disembodied voice cackles and it's so clearly Agatha, like... What an ending. Can you imagine if they had not released the last 2 episodes simultaneously and we had to wait another week to find out what the hell was going on there? Yeah, so great episode. There were some things that it took me a little while to get used to because, again, what I had thought was going on and what I had, some of the predictions that I liked and thought were interesting did not match what actually happened. So I had to get used to like this new vision of things. I'm fully on board now, but initially I was a little bit like, I'm not sure if this worked, but I do think it works. So yeah, so next time we will look at the final episode, which is mostly flashback. It has some really heartbreaking moments in it, but some really well done stuff as well, and is really just setting up the next stage of this story, which presumably will be continued in the Vision series. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts about character motivations or what was actually going on, or just your thoughts in general. So please feel free to let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, commenting, all the wonderful things that you do. Huge thanks as always to our patrons, who are amazing and wonderful and spectacular and just so great. Special shout out to our Nick Nelson members, Kelly Walker, Paul Z, Kent Smither, Kim Engel, Lauren Javier, Mark Walker, Sarah Parker Schemmelt, and Courtney McAlexander. Okay, that's going to do it for this video. Have a wonderful rest of your day or night or whatever time of day it may happen to be. I'll see you next time. Okay?